Good morning, and thanks all. I think my mic's up. Can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. Nice to see you all. Many familiar faces out there. And I have the pleasure of kicking this off this morning. It's obviously an area that holds interest for a large number of people, kind of across content development, advertising, marketing, research companies. So, I'm gonna hit a lot of highlights this morning because you'll have speakers over the course of the day that are gonna get into a lot more depth on topics. But hopefully, I can set the table. All right. So, let's start out just by talking about the term over the top. It's used to cover a multitude of things. And what I've found is it means very different things to different people. So one of the first things I usually do when I'm having a conversation about over the top is ask what somebody means by over the top, because it can be any number of specifics that kind of nest under this broad label. So for our purposes today, we'll say that over the top is the use of apps to stream video content via the internet to a video screen. And for the most part, that's a television screen, but it doesn't have to be. Could be a computer or a mobile device. And there are a number of content providers and delivery services that are all considered to be under this umbrella. And that includes, as you can see from my little word cloud here, which I think when I started thinking about this presentation was a little bit how I felt, because there's so many pieces that are involved. We've got SVOD, TV Everywhere, we've got the virtual MVPDs, we've got smart TV, we've got boxes, we've got sticks, and within each one of those are a number of companies that are all competing. So it's a very interesting and very fragmented marketplace. And I think the most exciting thing about it is that it offers an enormous amount of opportunity. We are on our way to IPTV. We're not there yet, but I think that this is the step in that direction that has everybody's attention. So, just to start with those pieces, first the virtual MVPDs, also called digital MVPDs, or sometimes skinny bundles, are relatively new. I mean, I checked to see when Sling first came on the scene, and it was less than 3 years ago. So we've had a rapid development here. We have DirecTV Now, we have the Hulu Plus live streaming app, PlayStation View, as well as Sling. And the last Nielsen numbers that were published size this market at about 1.6 million households. Which is still small, but it's growing quickly. And Nielsen is started measuring virtual MVPDs back in February. So as they catch up, there may still be a few more to be added in, just in terms of coverage of their households. But I'm sure Brian will be talking about more later, so I won't go there. It is significant enough now to kind of register on the Richter scale of syndicated measurement, so we are getting more and better information about it, which is helping us all enormously to understand how the pieces fit together. So these are over-the-top network aggregators. For Turner, we consider ourselves to be an important part of these bundles just because of our scale. The quality of the programming, the original programming that we cover, and the amount of live programming that we offer between CNN, particularly in our sports offerings. So we're there for the most part. We're not yet on YouTube TV, but we are included in all of the other bundles. Some people speculate that these vMVPDs will entirely make up for the decline in pay TV households. We're not seeing that. It would be lovely, but it is attracting audiences that I think are less likely to be involved with the traditional MVPD offerings. So certainly an advantage there. And the prospect of reaching out to people who are cord nevers is also extremely attractive. Okay. So next group is the TV Everywhere network apps. I've just thrown a few of our logos up there. Obviously, this is a very busy space. There are a large number of individual TV apps, and they have current live content as well as VOD offerings, and are developed for TVE, over-the-top boxes like Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. So this is obviously a part of your pay TV subscription. You authenticate on the majority of these apps. For Turner, this started in terms of representing our offering on browsers and mobile 6 years ago, and then transitioned over to apps as we move forward. But the advantage of TVE for us, it's not, with the exception of CNN and sports, it's not a big high volume business for us, but it is an opportunity for us to really get more experience with a user interface that is more friendly than what some of the traditional MVPDs are offering. Comcast X1 is fabulous, and I think a great, step forward in terms of navigation, but not everybody has the opportunity to use that, so this is something that helps us get our programming in front of people with a good user experience. And it also allows us to get more information about ad loads and people's reaction to less commercialization. Then next we have, there we go, the direct-to-consumer apps, and these are basically paid subscription services. Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu are the majors here. We haven't been, Turner has not been really aggressive in terms of placing our content on these services, not as much as some other companies, but we do have arrangements with all of 3 of these. And we are also holding back our content for some services that will launch direct to consumer, such as what we've done with Filmstruck or Boom. So a lot of different ways to play in this direct to consumer space. And again, it's a great place to experiment and see what consumer appetite there is for these products, what the pricing can be, and how they will be used. We don't see this for us as a scaled business. We see it more as an area where we can serve up the appropriate content to really passionate fans, so more niche audiences. But as time goes by, I'm sure we will see many more successes and failures as people experiment in this space. And finally, I think it's just worth mentioning social, as Facebook and Snapchat and others look to put more video on their sites, look for partnerships with content providers. This is also something that we should keep an eye on in terms of future video aggregators that may play in this space. Okay, so just to change gears for a minute, what are the growth drivers? Why are we seeing this incredible growth in OTT? Basically, it's the perfect storm. What we have is high penetration of broadband, so the universe definitely is significant in terms of size. We have more quality content. As was mentioned this morning, there are more original series being developed for people than there have been in the past, and there is an appetite for people to get those. Then there are more affordable smart TVs and over-the-top sticks and boxes. The prices on these have really come down, and that is, just helping propel access to over-the-top surfaces. And then there's a big choice in ad models, so there's kind of something for everybody out there. If we kind of we go around this circle from the top in terms of content, you know, you can choose live, video on demand. You can go broadcast with local stations, without local stations. You can choose the number of cable networks that you want. So there's pretty much unlimited choice in terms of content. For commercialization, there are opportunities to get the same ad load that we currently have, half as much, no ads, interactive ads. And then in terms of convenience, you can pick the level of personalization that you want, whether you want an account profile, simultaneous streaming opportunity, offline viewing, and what devices. So there are lots of different choices in terms of people accessing exactly what they want. And for cost, you've got the option of a base fee, expansion fees, monthly versus annual payments, fixed, skinny, or a la carte. So it is a lot of choice. I think that, you know, we've done some modeling to see what we think the sweet spot is. I'm sure many other companies have as well. But there will be a range of products based on, you know, the differences in the types of people that are looking to connect with exactly what they want. Okay. This is from a recent IAB Maru survey, and it just focuses in on what people say are the reasons that they're streaming more. And basically, what they've talked about is having a new streaming device, having more content available, having better content available, and then a better overall experience. So very consistent, and it is the kind of pattern that would make you expect this to continue to grow, because all of these things are present and continuing to expand. It's just a quick snapshot from Bruce Lightman's research. It looks at the pay TV universe in terms of households. These are for the major MVPDs. And then from that same group, the broadband households. So they have actually crossed. Broadband is now 94 compared to pay TV's 93. So we think that, again, will continue. So in terms of networks being able to secure broad distribution for their content, pay TV is obviously very important to us, but that VIG for broadband also is important to note. This is just another look at trends now looking forward. What we expect is that pay TV will continue to decline slowly, and that both connected TV and over-the-top will continue to grow. So what you're going to have is no one that has the entire coverage of the market. So for companies like Turner, it's going to require that we play in multiple spaces in order to make sure that we've got broad coverage of our audiences. Okay, let's speak a little bit to the fragmentation in this space. OTT is over 50% penetration now in terms of households, but each device is relatively small. So, you know, we start with smart TV on the far right at 81 million homes. And then, you know, progress across the chart to Apple TV at 21 million homes. Nobody has anything near full penetration out of this set, but as you'll notice in the line below the circles, the growth rates over the last year are really strong, especially for smart TV and Amazon Fire in terms of, you know, growing over 30% year over year. So the fragmentation I wanted to point out, particularly because it causes a lot of complexity from the perspective of a company like Turner. I mean, we have over 400 endpoints that we have to manage, and I think that's not unusual for a media company our size. So it means that there's a lot of investment in technology. It means that measurement becomes very challenging because all of the endpoints need to be registered in order to send back a signal so that we get measurement. And where we're much more accustomed to having a less fragmented environment, most of our organizations were just not really set up to deal with this. So it's required a lot of change and adaptation to move to this new world. And why is it so important to understand what's happening with the audience? This is some research that Yumi and Nielsen did recently that shows what happens to viewing behavior from before someone gets an OTT device to after. And what you see is a really interesting pattern. I mean, the darker blue bar shows the time that they're spending with OTT. So they have a new OTT device, they're going to spend time with OTT. That happens both for light, medium, and heavy users. What's interesting on the far right is that you have light viewers watching more. So they've found things that actually are encouraging them to spend more time viewing video. Medium users are about the same. They've just share shifted a little bit in terms of where they're spending their time. But you actually see a decline in heavy users, which is, I think, interesting in that there is a theory that says if people begin to have more directed patterns of TV usage, they may actually watch less when they're watching this much to begin with. So these are all, theories at this point. They need to be proven out with a lot more research, but it'll be extremely important for us to understand these behaviors as we move forward with OTT. Turner's really optimistic about this. We think it's a positive, net positive for all of the players. Basically, better for the consumer, better data, which helps advertisers and media companies, more versatility in terms of pricing and packaging. I mean, it's not one size fits all anymore in terms of selling video. We now can scale to work with advertisers of different sizes and targets of different sizes. And we do think, we'll talk a little bit at the very end, that there is an incremental revenue opportunity here in that it'll help us better monetize our inventory and more fully utilize all of our impressions, where some of them today are not as appreciated as potentially they can be in this new world. A couple of quick Turner things. We're definitely focused, and Donna Speciale has been speaking to this for a number of years, about making sure that we're moving the advertising model to delivering advertising when it's wanted, needed, and appreciated. And we've brought together a group of people that we call the Ad Lab to basically develop experiments so that we can learn more about how to improve the ad model. This is Howard Schimmel has been running this for I think 2 years now, and we have some good experiments outlined. It's definitely meant to be an industry forum rather than a Turner forum, so we have a number of people from outside of the company. And again, I just want to reinforce, learning is critical right now. We've got a lot of new things happening. We have a lot of ways we can experiment to learn from the changes in behavior, and it's a great opportunity to test and learn. Even on air, we've been experimenting with ad loads. True TV, for example, has a reduced prime ad load, and we're having great results in terms of audience, in terms of ad recall. We've done a lot of different, again, testing to better understand this, and it certainly suggests that reducing ad load helps us hold audiences. True TV over the last 2 years has consistently held audience, which is extraordinary in these times. So we think that LCI is part of that. Measurement. Again, you're going to have some experts up here talking to you about measurement, but what I just simply wanted to set up is the fact that the things that are happening now at Nielsen and ComScore in terms of developing roadmaps for future measurement are going to be a great help in understanding over the top. Nielsen's approach with total audience in terms of combining census and panel, separating content from ads, and making sure that we have comparable metrics between linear and digital are all really important when it comes to understanding how OTT fits in the broader video ecosystem. And as a part of the solution, Nielsen's also introducing, or has introduced, a streaming meter. It's in about 1,000 homes now, but I would say we'll be expanding, and Brian's going to, again, share some of those results. The benefit of having that be a part of the overall Nielsen measurement plan is that it will allow us to see OTT in the context of total viewing by program, device, and by demographic. ComScore also doing a lot of work in this area, with information available through video metrics, and plans to expand. They have a recently announced partnership with Sling to measure their addressable and OTT delivery at a person impression level. And they have their total home panel and their OTT intelligence report, and plans to expand those things in 2018. And I'm sure Josh will speak to that later today. So there's a lot happening there. It's not all there yet, but I think we're on our way to having much better measurement across linear, digital, including OTT, which kind of sits in the sweet spot in between. And then there is data, which has been mentioned. Huge opportunities to improve targeting and accountability, and that's going to be extremely valuable both to advertisers and to programmers in terms of understanding consumption of products and how to maximize the yield on their inventory. We're pushing forward in terms of the use of data. OpenAP, which is Turner, Viacom, and Fox. So far, we hope to have others join, is beginning in beta in fourth quarter. And this is just basically a platform that will allow advertisers to more easily select behavioral targets using a variety of different data sets. Allow them to distribute those targets to the media companies that they want to submit proposals, and then have third-party verification of delivery at the end of the process. So it's meant to encourage and streamline the whole process of selecting targets, which can be very time-consuming and challenging at this point. So just to wrap up, I mean, we're on our way to IPTV. Not there yet. It's going to take a while, but this is clearly a step in that direction. And it'll have a lot of benefits. This is a bit of an eye chart. I apologize for that, but just in terms of how it will help us monetize our inventory, we started out on the far right with kind of the traditional packages where people were buying the spots, the containers, and getting the people residing therein. So some were in their target, which kind of is blurred in blue, and some were not, and that was the way it was. We've moved towards more optimized packages of spots now, where people can get the majority of people in their target. but they're still getting some extra folks. Where we're going with IPTV is to, selling the individuals rather than the containers. So that advertiser can in fact buy the 5 target people that they want and not buy the 4 people that they do not. So that's great for them, and what it allows us to do is to monetize those additional 4 people. So we feel, it's a win-win all around, and there's a lot more experimentation that needs to happen. There's a lot more progress that needs to be made in terms of technology and measurement, but again, Turner is very optimistic about where this is all going and the benefits across the board. So thanks guys very much for listening this morning, and excited about the day today. So I'll turn it back to Chris.
I think we've got just a few minutes. We actually have a few minutes. If there are any questions for Beth, we'll open the floor. Hang on, Sarah, from our staff, we've got a question right here in the front.
Hi Beth, how you doing? I'm just curious, to what degree is Cody a challenge in this space in the United States? Because I know there's been a lot of noise about it in the UK, and so I'm just curious as to what the penetration of Cody, how many people are actually using it, if there's been any measurement in that regard, and if you've heard about any actual industry-wide regulatory action.
Privacy.
Yeah.
It's something that we're watching very carefully. I think is it Safari 11, correct? Is now they're going to clear their cookies after 24 hours. Kind of a first step in the direction of working with that. We're going to watch and see. I mean, I think, of course, there is some concern. We're doing research, actually. Natasha Hertzig, who works for Howard as well, is doing some research on consumer data value exchange so that we can really try to understand, and there's one of her team, Sunil Sawan, to understand better what people are willing to share and what benefit they would get from that. But yes, it's a concern, but I think it's kind of a watch and wait situation right now.
Okay. Great. Other questions for Beth? Sarah? Hold
Thank you.
So yes, and so everybody knows, we will be posting all of today's content as permitted by our speakers on the ARF website. I believe it's within about 2 weeks, and you'll get notice of that, and you'll get when it's available on our site. So for those of you who are taking copious notes in the room, or who I see the flashes of the phones sometimes, don't worry, you will get copies. Other questions for Beth? I do want to. I want to follow up the one thought, Beth, and just ask about. You made the point about Donna's comment about improving the ad experience for consumers. As what are you seeing in your learning about how consumers are responding to the ad experience in the OTT environment? Are they saying to you that I really enjoy this better? This is something that I want to pay more attention to, as opposed to, as we see in the digital space, people are saying, no, I'm putting up a blocker. I don't want to see your ads.
Yeah. We haven't been able to do measurement within the OTT universe yet. It's a little bit challenging given the scale, but it's certainly something through the ad lab that we'll be interested in experimenting with. But we haven't any results yet that we can share.
I understand. I mean, admittedly, we're all in pretty new territory here, so we thank Turner for taking the lead in some of these areas, and excited to see what the ad lab learns.
Cool.
So, Beth, thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you all.